I just finished a load of washing here and was about to put it in the dryer when it occurred to me that it is high time I did a long-term ownership review of the AEG dryer. Now, the bottom line is it's fantastic. It's probably the best, certainly heat pump dryer I've ever owned, probably dryer as well. It feels pretty economical to run, pretty gentle on clothing, but above all, the drying results are phenomenal. It's sort of comparative with vented tumble dryers I used to have. So that is the short summary. I'll just go on to explain a bit more about the dryer, what I like, what I don't like, etc. When I'm looking for a dryer, I did like a matching set. As some of you who've been around here for a while will know, I did have an early Miele Heatpump T1 dryer. That unfortunately had a PCB issue and I decided to try a different brand. And I'm really pleased I did. These AEG dryers have a kind of cult following on this corner of YouTube, and I'm glad I spoke to a few of you, so thanks for your help with that, and decided to go for this model. Now, interestingly, this model is still available. I was quite surprised to see that something 2 years old hasn't had a sort of changeover or upgrade yet, and this model is TR959 M6BC. So I'm sure there's probably been some upgrades to it, but fundamentally that model is still available on AEG's website in the UK and some online retailers. I see there's another 9000X Pro series now, and I don't quite know the difference between features on that. It looked like you had a little more control over whether it was time saving or energy saving, but I have to say I've never really been bothered about that. With this one, it dries phenomenally well, and of course being heat pump is pretty economical. I think I've worked out roughly to 20p a cycle. I may need to recheck those figures, but really for a full load of cottons, I don't think that's too bad at all. But when looking for a dryer, there's a few features which are non-compromise for me. First is a drum light. I know that's a bit of a luxury these days, but it's just handy to have in case you leave anything in there. Obviously I've got quite good lighting and this is kind of eye level, but still it's nice to have a light in there to just guard against leaving anything behind. If I'm honest, it could be a smidge brighter. The meter there you can see kind of shining out. This one isn't so bright. You can turn it on mid-cycle, but very often the clothes are kind of covering where the LED sits, which is kind of right there in the drum. So it's not much use, but certainly comes on when the cycle's finished. The second feature that's no compromise for me is the ability to drain out instead of filling the drawer. I just can't be bothered with the faff of drawers, particularly on a stack scenario like this, and it's likely to be quite heavy. And this AEG certainly had the function where it came, I think, with a bit of a drain extension. You can see there the dryer is plumbed in and there's just a little bit of water remaining, but that really makes life a doddle because I never have to think about emptying the water drawer out. Disappointingly, AEG didn't really supply anything with which to plumb that in. I guess most people in the UK just shove it down the drain and hold it in with the washing machine outlet. I've got a kind of dual-headed thing here, and I actually used the orange hose connector that Miele supplied with a Jubilee tip just to keep that in place, and it seems to be working pretty well. Let's look into build quality then. This up here is obviously all plastic, which is pretty standard these days. Now I have had some LG machines in the past where the plastic's all kind of been misaligned. This is not the case here. It's got, you know, quite a nice design and nothing there is out of alignment. The enamels kind of front and side panels are quite good quality. They don't feel as thick as the Miele, I have to say. But of course, you know, I think you'll be hard pressed to find that from a manufacturer these days, unless it's really top quality. And if I did have one criticism, it would be this door. So I quite like the look of the machine. I like the outside of it, but this door is very lightweight and this door glass is actually just plastic. And what I found is as sort of jean metal buttons and zips or other things kind of hit this glass, it's actually created a series of kind of scratches. The dryer more often than not is turning one way than the other, and this definitely has scratched the door. I guess I could replace this. I think there is a kind of, this is available as a spare part, which must just be a matter of unscrewing all those screws, but it's only going to happen again. So I'm going to just bide my time and wait and see. Obviously, if it gets really bad, I will change it. Same goes for the drum paddles. So I think you can just make out there's some kind of pock marks in all these paddles, and I can only assume that is from where things like zips and other hard bits of clothing have caught these paddles. So it's a shame they're not very durable for something that's meant to be a more premium brand. I just foresee this as a bit of a problem because as I'm running my hand over this, it is a bit rough. So obviously that's going to have an effect on all my clothing as it's being rubbed up on that. But otherwise, if I could just have the light a little lighter in the drum, it is not as bright as the Miele ones. But otherwise, it's a fantastic machine, and build quality wise, I'm pretty pleased. It has a fantastic range of cycles, so everything you'll need there. 9 times out of 10, I'm using cottons. The cotton echo is sort of an hour longer, and I don't have time for that, so I tend to use cottons. For a load like this, it probably comes down to about 1:43, which is just phenomenal. With the Miele dryer, it was always around over 2 hours, I believe, and it's nice that this always comes down. I think obviously spinning at 1600 RPM in the washing machine helps. Certainly anything thick like this, or towels, bed linen, I do spin quite fast, and I find the cycle times are always greatly reduced. Scope of programs is pretty good, so you've got your usual synthetics and delicates there. Mixed dry is fantastic because there are instances where I do have a mixed load, say cottons and some sportswear, and that all yields pretty even drying results. I've tried wool in this, so I think there is a video which I can link on YouTube of me trying the wool. That essentially just puts a very high RPM on the drum, and so the clothes, all the woolen inside isn't tumbling, and that keeps them safe while it's drying. I did use it on some Christmas jumpers that I had to have ready the other week, and I hadn't planned, so I did use it on those, and they came out unshrunk and pretty good. I'm still not 100% certain, even though it has got the wool care check mark there, that I would trust it with my most prized cashmere, but it's fantastic to know that that is an option if you need it. Otherwise, I've also used down jackets, so if you've got some puffer jackets, that also has produced pretty even drying results. The only thing I can't fathom on this machine is there's no gentle cycle option. I think the answer to that is the fact that it's a heat pump and the temperatures are low anyway. But if you have any articles of clothing with the tumble dry symbol with 1 dot in it, that means a low heat tumble dry. And I just can't fathom how I get that. Maybe it is pegged to delicates or something like that. So if anyone knows, I'd be grateful in the comments if you could tell me. But I don't know, so I haven't risked anything too precious in here. That said, it has dried woolens, it's dried curtains, it's dried cushion covers. 99% of things in this house I make sure I can tumble dry, and it has done so adequately, if not excelling expectations. On the other side of the control panel here, there are some special options. So these are selectable via the app, so it is a good idea to hook this up to the app. It's good because you can kind of keep tabs on when the dryer is going to finish. I don't particularly operate it remotely, but that is also an option if you need to make use of sort of reduced peak rates or something like that with your electric. I tend to just put it on, but it is nice to check through the app when it will finish. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't warn you when it's reduced or increased time, and I'd really like that as a feature. Sometimes I'm sort of caught off guard. More often than not, it finishes quicker than I was anticipating, and I just wish that at some stage, obviously the sensors have deduced the laundry's getting drier than it was anticipating. It would be nice if it just pushed that through to the app, then just relying on you to find out yourself. But those three there have, you can sort of select different programs on the app and then assign those here. I can't really remember what I've got. I think home is just this particular towels one, which to be fair has produced some lovely fluffy results on the towels. So I don't know what it is about that program, but it has worked really well. So it's nice to know that there's just a few more added features there in the app. Let's talk cycle times and drying performance then, and that really is where this excels. For this load I'm putting on here, I estimate that's probably going to be 1:43. So those are cottons done in the Miele, spun at 1600. And that takes a little over 1.5 hours, which is phenomenal because it was well over 2 hours, probably 2.5, 3 if it was towels with the Miele. But most critically, being a heat pump, drying results are fantastic. I've never, ever once in 2 years, using the cycles I have, pulled something out of this dryer that has been damp to the point where I need to put it back in and dry it. Very occasionally, maybe things feel damp, and that is just, I think, the essence of having heat pump. Stuff isn't bone dry or over dried, so you do get used to that. But the issue I had with the T1 Miele that I had was stuff wasn't actually dry. So I would be putting towels away or bed linen, getting them out months later, and then there would be this awful kind of mildew, latent smell that was just horrible. And then obviously, you know, you can't use those, you can't use them for bedding or use them on yourself. So those would then have to go back and be rewashed, and it's just a waste of time, effort and energy. But I've never had that once with this dryer. I've never taken anything out my linen cupboard, thick towels, anything like that, and thought that they smell mildewy or musty. So it does a phenomenal job of drying. I have absolutely no idea how their 3D scan technology works. There's nothing obvious in the panels I don't know about down here. But however it does it, it is a fantastic, it does a fantastic job of monitoring the moisture levels. If you are finding the results are unsatisfactory, there is a way of adjusting that through the settings on there, very basic settings. But I haven't really had to do that. I thought because I've got very hard limescale water, that's certainly how Miele approaches it. You can kind of program it that way. This is just about dryness levels, so there are options, but I've stuck with the factory baseline, and that has been in place since I bought the machine. And as I say, fantastic, phenomenal results. I'm so pleased with it, because I was almost ready to give up on Heatpump. But these days, it is all about heat pumps. I don't think you can get a kind of traditional condenser dryer anymore, certainly not vented here in the UK. So yeah, overall, fantastic machine. So let's talk a little bit about maintenance then. There's obviously the standard kind of door filter here, lint filter. This again, quality-wise, feels fine. I do think that hinge will probably be an issue one day, but again, I should think that's a pretty replaceable part. Lots of kind YouTubers commented about this plinth, or lack of plinth filter down here. So on the Miele, in front of this sort of fins of heat exchanger, there was a plinth filter which needed pretty regular maintenance, and it was a bit of a pain. This, however, doesn't have that, but I have been warned to keep that very lint-free, lest the lint goes right into the sides of the heat exchanger and then eventually causes a problem. Interestingly, AEG supply this little comb, so you have to actually kind of comb that through the fins, and then you'll get a kind of collection of dust there. So I do that, and I do hoover that. The fins are pretty easily damaged, which isn't great, so I tend to use this comb as well at the end, just to kind of go up gently and make sure none of them are folded in to block airflow. I know some people on YouTube have fashioned their own kind of plinth filters for this. The airflow seems pretty strong inside. I'd be hesitant to be doing that myself. So at the minute, I'm just trying to keep on top of this maintenance, but I believe, according to other YouTubers, that is something to watch. Otherwise, I'm so phenomenally happy with this. It's a fantastic dryer. I think I'm finally onto a winning laundry combination now. I did love a matching set, but I think I was a bit overzealous before and over-speccing stuff. I don't miss the steam smoothing, say, on the dryer that I had, the Miele dryer. That was something I didn't use. So this is, you know, fairly straightforward, very easy to use, and above all, dries phenomenally well. So if you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments. I hope I've covered most things there. But as I said, this model is still actually available, and I wholeheartedly recommend it. So just doing a little section on noise of the appliance. It's probably comparable to the Miele. If I'm honest, I would have liked it to have been a little quieter, but it's certainly nothing that I can't live with. Most critically, it doesn't have that incessant ticking from the carbon contacts that the Miele had. So this is it fully working. You may be able to hear a slight hum of the refrigerant circuit, and a sort of rushing of air noise, which I was mentioning about the speed of the airflow inside it. I think it's pretty strong. But I suspect if this was under a counter, not in a sort of big echoey cupboard like this, next to a washing machine, it would probably be a load quieter, but it's fine. I have it sort of in this cupboard here. I don't really close the door if it's on, but it certainly doesn't annoy. As I mentioned a little while ago, that load, well, usually sort of good average, my weekly load there, that's gone down to 1 hour 40, which is pretty indicative. This process here sort of tells you how much the machine is loaded, so that's about half full, only 2 dashes out of 4. And I really like this green dot because it's kind of telling you if your options are energy efficient, I guess, or not. If you do hit the dryness level up to the sun symbol, that leaf disappears, which also indicates it's going to be using more power.